I'm Steve Dickhouse, and this is Haus Talk, a podcast where we unpack what it's really like to live a life above average. Real people, real stories, real habits, real growth. See, every high performer has a story that's generally built upon faith, discipline, or courage. The courage to keep going even after life kicks you hard. If you're here, welcome.
Welcome back to Haus Talk, where I'm your host, Steve Dickhouse, and I get the opportunity to share this space with other high-performance individuals and really go through not only what it is that they've built, but most importantly, I think, how it is that they've built it. And I want to take a moment to introduce you guys to Jeremy Sopko. And Jeremy comes to us today from Cleveland, Ohio. He is an executive. He is an entrepreneur. He has won Ernst & Young Award at the regional level. He is a co-founder and the CEO of Nations Lending. And what's really important to me, and I'm excited to share back with you guys, the viewer today, is I've had the opportunity to personally be mentored and coached by Jeremy over the past year or so. And we have had some awesome conversations. And I'm excited to bring that back to you guys, the viewers, hopefully not only to motivate, but also inspire. Jeremy?
Steve, thanks for having me.
Welcome to Haus Talk, man.
Yeah, what a great intro. Appreciate that. It's good to be here. Like we talked about a couple minutes ago, this is my first podcast, so I'm excited to see where this goes and how it flows, and I'm ready.
Yeah, I am super excited to have you on. I know I just said all that, but I like to start the podcast off hard and fast, gut-wrenching question that really gives the viewers a good view of what it is that they're going to see throughout the pod. So my first question is going to be a would you rather, okay?
Okay.
Would you rather continue and be the CEO of Nations Lending, or would you rather be the most prestigious champion-winning pickleball player that's ever lived?
It's a good thing my wife's not here. She may sway may sway this answer. Boy, am I competitive, and do I love pickleball, and it's something that excites me from that competitive nature. But if you ask me honestly, what I'd rather have is the CEO spot. I can touch and help develop and help, give confidence to a lot more people in that way. And that's what I love doing. That's my passion. That's my nature. And it's very powerful. So, being a one-man band in pickleball or having a partner is one thing, but doing it as a group and watching others flourish and others succeed, that really is my purpose. So that's my answer.
I thought that I was going to get you on the pickleball because, obviously we've had some good conversations around, leadership and athletics and health. And you always bring up pickleball. I mean, we were on the car right here and you brought up pickleball. I was like, he's going to go for the pickleball answer.
It's a side hustle.
It's a side hustle.
It's a side hustle. It's a hobby. It's something that allows me to de-stress. It's something that allows me to have fun with friends. And, I'm hopeful that that's the 30, 40-year plan, right? Staying healthy enough to continue on, playing pickleball and competing.
Yeah. You had said something about being able to help others with the platform of the company, right? And the importance to that of being your mission rather than one man show with maybe playing pickleball. Tell me more about that, and how would you unpack how you have been rooted that way, or where that comes from?
Oh, that's a great question. I think ever since I started in the business, and more so even when I was younger, I liked having a group activity where you can inspire one another, right? I look to mimic a lot of times greatness in others and develop that for myself, turn it into something that flows with me. It may not be 100% the same way someone else is doing it. I take my own flavor and my own character and put it in there. But when you can help others grow up in not just this industry that we have, which I love so much, but you give them confidence, you give them something that they may have never believed in before, or believed they could, reach a certain height in their life.
Yeah.
As I've been in this industry now for, since 1998, I've seen those that I have affected in a positive way. And there's nothing more in life that's more satisfying or, having gratification than watching others succeed. So when you build something like Nations Lending Corporation, I've never ever looked at it saying how much money someone else in my company is making and have that jealousy of how successful they are. You just want to see them keep going and going and going and being more and more successful.
Yeah.
Which is important because it's not all about me. The final goal of this thing is to create an organism, not just it's an organism that is here when I'm gone and off the face of the earth. And to do so, you have to give everything to it.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not leaving anything, any unknowns.
Yeah.
So that's, it's fun. I'll be honest with you. And, you learn every day from others. It doesn't matter how long I've been in this business. It's not a single day that I think I know more than someone else. It's what I can soak in and what I, as a sponge, can now take in and say, thanks for turning that light bulb on for me.
Yeah.
And giving me that energy to see things in a different light.
Yeah. When you talk about seeing others succeed and having those moments with them and seeing them elevate what it is that they've done, that to me, stepping into a leadership role more so now than ever with the company, that has been one of, if not the most rewarding thing that I've had in my career, is to have some other loan officers that come in and were at a production level that they weren't satisfied with, pour back into them and, see them have some really killer months. That feels better than when I hit killer months, and something more so recently, especially with our company's culture, I have felt that from the top down. And that's been something that I've really, really appreciated out of our company's culture too. And it's awesome to hear you say it, and it's awesome to see you live it day to day as well.
It's important. It's important to make people believe and feel they're part of something, right? And not just a number. And when you can create an atmosphere, a company like that, where everybody's rooting for everyone else, everybody's helping everyone else, and it's not all about them, it's something special. And we've seen it regardless of what industry you're in. You've seen the mind mentality where the egos take over, and the ego's the worst thing, right? Now, you can have a collective ego, right, which is great. The minds come together and you have the collective ego. But when you have separate egos and separate silos, it really tears up the organization. And it's hard for people, like you said, to succeed in an atmosphere like that or an environment like that. And trust me, it's since 2003, we've not always had it the way we have it today, right? We've had leaders with egos. We've had silos created. It's breaking those down and it's putting the right leaders in place and letting them flourish and show their true leadership, which is something that, I'm really, really proud of as a group, to know that the leaders are all in it for one another. Yeah.
I want to circle back to something that we're going through about your origin story, and something that I felt was, I circled and I looked at that and I really revisited it. And it was something that you said about you were willing to take on responsibility before you felt like you were ready to. Tell me more about that, because there's so many different things that I feel when I hear you say that, or when I read that I was like, that's more than just a sentence there. You were willing to take on responsibility before you felt like you could.
So I think as a leader, when you take a look at yourself as being very young in the business, and you are the person that people are following, there's a responsibility there that I didn't know I had when I was 22, 23, 24, right? But knowing that I was going to bet on myself and I believed in myself, those responsibilities were looming and hanging out there. So whether I knew they were there or not, which when you're young, you really don't understand
right.
what's behind door number 2, what's behind door number 3. but being willing and having confidence enough to do it, and others seeing that you have that confidence, or at least have the ability to take the chance, right? It really, really just allowed me, no matter if it was a failure or a success, to learn from it. And as many failures as you have, right, you grow from those. So the responsibility of those failures, I think, is the most important thing. Like when you take responsibility for your failure, right, it's a big move for yourself. I'm not sitting there saying, your fault, your fault, your fault. Like, this is here, and I'm going to correct it. And I'm growing from it, and we're all going to grow from it. And I think when you take a look at responsibility, you were taught as a kid, right? Every action, there's a reaction. Everything, that you may have done is going to have a reaction, either positive or negative. And, the way I grew up is if you're going to say something, you're only as good as your word. Mm-hmm. And if you fail at that, right, you make your apologies and you go prove yourself that you are good for your word. Because there's been times I failed, thought this success was going to, take place, and realized 3-4 years later, or a year later, that, hey, wrong path, time to reset. Mm-hmm. I take responsibility for that.
And I would imagine, so how old were you when you guys co-founded Nations?
It was 2003, so that put me at, 28 years old?
28 years old. How many employees?
We started out with 9 employees.
Okay. And here we are in 2026. And how many thousands?
We've had over 1,000. Right now, we have over 850 employees right now.
And I know that you guys got leaner and meaner.
Yes.
Right? But some of those journey decisions to go through, and you may have been, I would assume, ignorant to some of the
still ignorant. Come on,
to
Steve.
some of the journeys. But when I think about that from a leadership perspective, it's really hard because you want to model humility. You want to model continuous growth. You want to model being able to not be superior to anybody but your formal self. But yet you have to walk a line of confidence and we got this, and follow me. We can get this across the finish line with these decisions. Is there a moment early on in your career that you can think of that you made a decision, you guys have made a decision that you can think of that explains that humility yet confidence that you can share with us?
Sure. I would say it was in 2011. I brought my partner in at that time, and both him and I were wearing 9 hats each. And we saw what we could potentially become, but we couldn't do so with just him and I. So as we sat in the room, and I said, look, it's time to start hiring people that are smarter than us and try to get out of their way. If we want to sustain, right, without getting burnout, in the industry, with not wearing 9 hats and him wearing 9 hats, it's time to sit there and say, let's level up. We are only as smart as, as what we've learned over the years. So in 2011, we set out to really build an executive team. We really built to go find people who had done what we were doing and had done it either better or knew more than we knew. Mm-hmm. Now, you'll hear my partner and I say this all the time. That was a plan, right? To go hire people smarter than you and get out of their way. It took us a long time to get out of their way. We still felt like we had to have control. We still felt like this is our baby and, the buck stops here. And it wasn't until years after we realized, some of the things we were doing wrong with having too much control on the leaders, or maybe having too much direction that we were giving, to them. And once we parted ways with that ideal and that concept inside of us and just really allowed them to have permission, take ownership, and fail, and learn from their failures, that the foundation was really starting to be set.
Was there a moment that you guys got in your own way that you can think of that you're like, this right here was the defining moment where we got that out of the way?
It happens daily, to be quite honest with you. And I say that because there's moments where I still feel I need to jump back in.
Yeah.
And over the course of the last 2.5 years, I've done a really good job of using my who's and allowing them to solve the problems. They'll bring the solution back to me, and basically now they just need a sign off.
Yeah.
Hey, Jer, here's what we've come up with.
Yeah.
You've given us, here's the issue. You allowed us to solve it. We just need your blessing on it. And I may tweak a few things, right? I may poke a hole in because I may see something that they didn't see, but they've got 9 out of the 10 boxes checked. I add a box. Or I just say, hey, look for this around the corner. I love where you're going. You may come up with a stumbling block, and here it may be. So start thinking about it now.
Yeah.
So when you ask that question, I don't know if there was a defining moment because there have been so many, as you go through this and as you learn how to lead, as you learn how to grow a company, and withstand what we have sustained in this business throughout the ups and downs of it. But I think you become more peaceful knowing that you've given permission to those to actually, take control of their respective departments and know that you still have their back regardless. Right. Of some of the decisions that they make, good or bad. Right. But we all learn together.
Yeah, it's the scaling aspect that, obviously you've accomplished is something that is kind of intimidating to do because of the amount of control that you have to start entrusting and empowering in other people. And, when you have a mentality of, I can do this the best, I can get it done the fastest, I can deliver the best service and all of those things. Something in my career that shifting that down has been, it's been difficult. It's not easy. And I could imagine that's something that you continuously, are tweaking and managing within yourself as you're continuing to scale. I think yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, the thing is, once you get to that point, you realize you're just an orchestrator. You realize you are just the spark, the idea guy. You realize now, hey, I'm at a level where everyone else beneath, in this organization has supplanted themselves so permanently, and their foundation is so good. I don't have to go back in there. I can now think 12 months out, 24 months out, 36 months out, and I can help them see what's around the corner. Before, I was in the day-to-day. Before, I couldn't see beyond 30 days from now. I couldn't see what the next quarter was going to bring. You're fighting so many fires. Now the big thing is how do you get your leaders to get up above the 30 days, to look out 6 months ahead, to look out 12 months ahead, to see, hey, what's going to happen 36 months from now? Not that the plan is always going to hit the mark, but at least there's a plan. At least there's an idea. At least there's standards that you're looking to head towards. And those are going to reshape as the market changes, but you're out of the day-to-day.
Right. And something that I want to talk about, and I'm going to circle back to this long-term thinking, because this has been something that I've really picked up from you as of recent, is that year, 3, 5 year, those long-term plans. And I'm really grateful for it. I really am. It really helps shape like you're saying, your day-to-days and so on and so forth. Something else I wanted to circle before we go there, I wanted to talk about, as you're scaling, what kind of pressure does that feel like? Like really think about, for me, I'm at 10 people and I feel it, right? And we're intertwined with some other brokerages that there's, larger expansion of people that we impact on the day-to-day, of course, but I'm at about 10 people's household income that I really have, which I feel like is, an earned privilege to help, them succeed and continue to grow, as we talked earlier, and having those moments with those employees that have come from not doing as much production to really, having some killer months, but then also your operations staff. Like, I have felt pressure. What kind of pressure have you felt? I can feel your pressure out of that big, breath right there.
That's a great question. I don't know if I've ever felt the pressure. I've always felt the belief. It's really strange. It's not that I plan to have 100 employees, 500 employees, 1,000 employees, or 20,000 employees. And I ever felt, oh my gosh, what's that going to feel like? I knew what I wanted to build. I knew what I wanted to be around here after I'm off the face of the earth. And I think just me thinking about a legacy and leaving back a dynasty, there was never this, oh my gosh, there's 1,000 people that I'm accountable for. You feel that accountability, of course, right? You're always going to feel that accountability. But if I believe in myself and I believe in the path and I believe in the character and the culture that we're building, I believe that would sustain. Now, there's always scaling issues. There's always going to be, proper scaling.
Sure.
And today you have a lot of outside influences coming into the market. You have AI. You have nearshore. You have a bunch of different things that can help you scale, right? So you have to keep those in the back of your mind, is how do you use those components to scale? But I think, and as we discussed, once you start realizing, this took me a long time, once you start realizing the financials and once you start realizing the P&L and what the P&L meant to the scaling, there's a whole diversification. There's a whole different way of looking at your business from that aspect, knowing how to scale, knowing what each unit means, knowing what each employee means to you, knowing the production, they're on the production line and how many loans units they can get through. So now scaling becomes something that's a part of the culture, but it's also part of the economics. It's part of the efficiencies and it's part of the profitability end. And you share that, right? We talked about this.
Yeah.
It took us a while to start sharing what that employee actually meant, what that position actually meant to the efficiency, right? To the success of the company. Now you're giving them permission and understanding of their purpose too. And with that, they take on more responsibility and they take an accountability for their position.
Yeah.
Without sharing that, right? Like you're a lineman, right? You're in football, or put yourself in any sport. Unless you know what accountability you have, right? Are you taking responsibility, or you're just, I'm being told to do something, right? And in the sport, you're mostly done what? Held accountable.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So you take that same mind mentality, and now you give them the accountability. You give them the permission. And that took a long time. And we're still trying to get that down through the company. And as you do more and more of that, people become more what? Accountable, but they also become more empowered, and they're attracted, and they don't want to go because they're like, wait a minute, that's mine.
Right.
I'm a piece of that.
Right.
That's been shared with me. I'm not the number. I'm not a number. I'm not just one of 120 processors. I'm not just one of 20, 30 underwriters. Right. I am that.
Right.
And I love being that. And that gives me this, go every morning when I wake up.
Yeah, I think when I think about where my team has been developed at, and to continue to empower them through the responsibilities, the vision, the culture, all of that has really helped anchor, our vision, and, having the camaraderie around it together, and the togetherness that's been built through it all has been super, super helpful to continue to grow and continue to empower everybody to do things, and it kind of offsets that pressure.
It does. And I think you're in a great spot. You're 10. We're 800. You're part of our 800, right?
Right.
So you're learning how to scale. You're learning how to hold others accountable, because you're in the same spot I was years ago, right? 10 hats. You're a top producer. you're processing, you're getting every fire, you're doing this. And through the process, now you're learning, hey, I don't need to be in every fire. I don't need to be in every situation. I want to go here. I need to tell them where I need to go. I need to give them that responsibility.
Right.
Have them have ownership in it so that you can scale and grow, right? But you're communicating that now. And I think that's something, that I didn't do. I shouldn't say I didn't do a great job of, but as you're running so fast sometimes, you lack the communication. You're just out there, right? The lead bullet or the lead cannon and firing, and you're flying as fast as you can. You're at a great position right now where, the maturity level that you have and that your group has, you guys are going to grow together quicker. And I love that. I see so much, similarities in us.
Yeah.
And our trajectories.
I'm excited for you to meet the rest of the group this afternoon. I think that they're gonna align very well with everybody else that you've obviously hired throughout the company, and I'm excited for that to introduction to happen. So
I'm excited to see what you built. I'm excited to see the energy. I know you.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see the energy of your people. I'm excited to see the synergy that you've created with your group. And to me, it's going to bring a lot of joy to me, to see how many people believe in what you're doing as a leader, and they're following you, right?
Yeah,
because they have that belief, and you've entrusted that in them.
It's been, obviously difficult, right? And you change who you are. There's a different version going into coming through situations that you hire and fire, and you go through legal, and you go through compliance, and you go through team dynamics. And it's something that when I look back on, I'm obviously a different version of myself compared to when we started, and you've got a lot to do with that, especially as of recent, with a lot of the mentorship and the coaching that we've had together. So I've got a lot of gratitude to you for that, right? Question I have would be another one that I have for you. And I was going through thinking, what would be something that would be a decision that you've made, maybe for the company or publicly, a decision that you made that you felt like this decision was the right decision and everybody was on board, but in the back of your mind you're like, oh no, I don't know. Or was there a circumstance that something like that you're like, this is the right decision, but then in the back of your mind you're like, a little bit of doubt, this could flop?
I mean, you could take the recent BCom development, and I didn't know where that was going. I had a belief in it. In 2022, started gathering information on what BCom could really become. And although I believed in it, I didn't know how others were going to take it. I didn't know how the originators were going to, if they were going to buy in or not. I didn't know if the real estate market was going to buy into it. I didn't know, first off, the legalities, right, and the compliance behind it. There were opinion letters that were out. So the first thing I did was go to legal and sit with legal for hours and said, hey, I have an idea. And they looked back, obviously it was COVID and it's video screen, with legal. And I remember the attorney looking back at me saying, why isn't everybody doing this? I said, okay, that's what I thought.
Oh, when you make a disruptive decision like this, when you make a disruptive decision like this, how does it feel? How does it feel to make a decision like this that is going to disrupt and then come out on the other side of it?
There's anxiety to a point where, number one, is this going to work? Are people going to buy into it? Am I wasting compliance time? Am I wasting legal time? Am I wasting time? Am I wasting time and effort and money, right? Am I not focusing on the right thing? right? Business is over here. This is potentially found business. This is a new platform. Am I directing my energy and am I directing my team's energy in the right direction?
Yeah.
Right? So you
Right.
have this,
Right.
you have this, is this a coin?
Because there's always a new shiny something.
Right.
There's
Is this
always
a coin toss?
yeah.
Is this a coin toss? Am I betting on the right area? And I knew I believed in it after a very short period of time because I was listening to my originators, either out in the field or others who were doing something similar to this or trying to get in and disrupt in the real estate market in the same way. So, I did my homework. Like I said, this isn't one of those things I would do in the past where I just went all in. And in the past, I would be an all-in type guy. My chips are here. No, they're all in now. This was a slow and gentle, gradual, hey, I'm building up the stack type, bet. Mm-hmm. But in the end, when I saw the real and I saw the connection that they were actually making with our originators, feeling like we were one community instead of two communities, and the battles that you have, I mean, you're in the thick of it, right? You have, the real estate agencies that you're going after and that you're securing great relationships with, right? I felt this was something that would bring our businesses closer for us to understand their side of what they do and for them to understand the work that we do in getting the consumer that final end product and service. So, it was a gamble, but it was a gamble that I thought was going to be something we win at the end.
Yeah.
And not just our community from the origination side. I just felt like the whole home purchasing, the buyer, the seller, us and the real estate agents, I thought it was a win for everyone.
Right, the entire process.
The entire
for everybody
process.
Involved. Yeah, I agree with you. And to circle back with, when you go forward with some of those decisions that are disruptive, when you move forward with some of those, I've got to get to know you obviously very well with your thought process and not playing the short-term game and playing a 1, 3, 5, 7, 10-year game. And I mentioned earlier, you had mentioned it as well, how important that is to really help guide your decision making, right? Where did that come from?
A lot of trial and error. A lot of chances I took that either succeeded or didn't succeed. Realizing how much planning went behind it in the past versus how much planning now goes behind certain things. Relying more on others than relying on myself. Really allowing, like I said, to give permission to those, right, to run with the idea and allow them to add to the idea. The coolest thing, actually, what was really cool, and this is something that I really love and something that we didn't have before. The BCom brought together this canvas, I'll call it. So when I created this BCom product, instead of taking just the top leaders, HR, compliance, my sales, my marketing team, I brought together a canvas of 18 people that were layered with anybody from top management down to middle management down to the doer, like the person who's actually out there executing this. I brought them all together in what I call my canvas. So we discussed openly the product. And it wasn't like HR had to take second-hand, third-hand communication down to someone who was, boots on the ground and saying, hey, this is an issue, here's what we got to fix. They were in the meeting. Mm-hmm. They answered in the meeting. They knew what the problem was, and they said, I wouldn't have known that for 2 weeks, right? This is going to cascade down to me somehow, some way, HR, the HR director, on down. I brought everybody in who was involved in it, and we all made decisions together. And there was no hierarchy in this. Everyone had an opportunity to speak. Everybody had an opportunity to interject. Everybody said, wait, I can solve that problem, because they were on the ground doing it. Instead of someone in Cleveland, in Arizona, right behind a desk, looking at numbers and saying, oh, this wasn't working right, and then having 3-4 phone calls, we brought those people into the fold immediately. And we continue to do that, through other projects we have. And that makes a more cohesive team. So that was just a random discovery. I mean, I wasn't reading a book on it. It just happened. Now were thoughts coming in from things I was reading and from just way other leaders were doing it? Yes, but this was something I just said, hey, Eric, I want X and X and X. And hey, Jeff, I want you to bring in so-and-so. Normally they wouldn't be a part of that conversation. Mm-hmm. They'd hear it second, third hand. That was critical mass for us.
Yeah, that really accelerated the launch of
really
everything to a point where it also had success, and moving forward with it. So not only was it a timing thing, but it was also part of probably the success of it all.
It really was.
Being launched out. I have a question about, getting to the level where you're at with things. There's quite a bit of price to pay, I'd imagine, time, maybe sacrifice. What's one of the biggest costs that people may not know? What's one of the biggest sacrifices that people may not know in order to reach a level?
Your mind. Your time you spend inside of your mind. Your time you spend inside of your mind wondering, are you doing the right thing for the people that are following you? Sometimes it's being at home and not being at home because you're still, out here thinking. Mm-hmm. I've done a good job, and my partner really helped me out with this years past, of doing a good job being where I'm at in the present moment, right? Whether it's with your family, your loved ones, and just putting aside the work and enjoying everything you've done.
Yeah. Instead
of it just overcoming you and taking over every moment. That is a difficult, thing for leaders to do. It's difficult for top producers to do because it's always the next deal. It's always the next thing. It's always, always, always something else. And you just never content, right? So gaining gap, right? It's like understanding what the gain is and what the gap is. It's more gain thinking. It's more, man, we've done so much in this little bit of time. Yeah, we're not there yet, but man, look what we've done. And let's enjoy it. Yeah. You and I do what? Every single time we get on, the first thing we do is share wins.
Yep.
The littlest wins. The biggest wins. You just share them.
Yeah.
Like there's always something to be excited about that you've accomplished in that 30-day period of time or 3 months. And I think if we spend more time relishing those moments, you're living in the now. So, like I said, back in the day, there was times where my mind would not stop.
Yeah.
I would not let it stop.
I had it the other day. I was home and I walked through the door and my wife said something and didn't even flinch. She goes, "Oh, you're not here right now." And I was like, "Okay, phone down. What's up, babe?" And just like, it was just such, and she didn't mean it to be like a disruptor to me, but that's what it was. I was like, "Oh, that's not what I'm trying to do right now. Here you go."
But it was a trigger. It was a great trigger.
And we've talked a lot about personal goals and being present and being in the moment. And it's so important. It's so important for your mental. It's so important for those around you deserve that of you, especially your family, especially your wife, your kids, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, everybody, right? You're with your friends even, and you're developing real relationships with them and not just surface level things. And I think that in our industry, and specifically probably in our day and age, it is so easy to just squirrel. It is so easy to pick up and scroll for 5 minutes. It's so easy to not be looking at what your kids are doing or pay attention to them picking up a toy and knowing that that's the one they go to every single time. So you're going to pick that up and then play with them next with it, right? So I relate to that. And I think a lot of people in our generation would likely do that. And a lot of people that are always driving beyond, there's a quote I had on Nick Perler on my podcast, and he said, beyond peaks are more peaks. You get to the top of a mountain, there's the peak, and beyond that peak is another peak, and you got to go to the next one. You got to go to the next one.
It's right? Never ending.
Never ending.
But, as successful as we may be or going to be or in the future going to be in business, I want to be more successful to my family. I want to be more successful to my kids, being around for them, like you said, knowing what toy they love, knowing what song they love, knowing why.
Yeah.
Not just, hey, daddy, look at this. You look at it for a second or two, and it's like, okay, that's great, and your mind's back to, right? You disconnect for a second. You look over.
Yeah.
But you're not there.
Right.
Yes, you did look at it, and yes, they're like, but man, they want you and they need you.
Right.
Right? And I think that for me, putting my family first, my loved ones first, helps because I also relay that message to my employees. Your family is the most important thing, not Nations Lending. Nations Lending is a part of your journey, but your legacy is your kids. Your legacy is your wife. Your legacy is your wife or your husband, right?
Yeah.
Like that's your legacy. And
Yeah.
what are they going to know you by?
Yeah.
Not, oh, dad was successful at X.
I think it's super encouraging to have people discover that. And I think that more people should really, and we were talking about this on the way here, know their why. And to retract from your hustle, your instant gratifications, and to take a high overview lens and scope, and to really understand what actions you're making today that will result in your purpose and legacy throughout, not just the month, the summer, the year, but where is that going to be when it's all said and done? What is it that you're doing to impact that movement when it's all said and done? And unfortunately, because we get so involved in day-to-day, because we get so driven on some of the results that are right now in instant gratification, we don't take the time to breathe. We don't take the time to come up for air and evaluate, And that is one of the things that, in talking with you, has really changed a perspective for myself. Is it's always, what can I do to make this month the best? What can I do to make this year the best? But there was nothing past that. And to pull out and look at the long-term game, not only in what it is that professionally that's happening with myself, but also personally that's happened with myself. I want to encourage people to really evaluate that.
It's hard. People are always in the moment. He said they're always searching for the next peak. And there's one right around the corner, right? You reach one peak and there's one right there.
Yeah.
What are you enjoying along the way?
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of people aren't enjoying those moments along the way. They're too caught up in the next moment and the next moment, the next moment, the next moment. And, it snowballs into, I can't stop rolling down the hill this fast.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's you put yourself in that momentum, in that mind space. But I think, when you're able to see things in a perspective where sustainability is more important than what's happening this month and what's happening next month, and what are you sustaining? What standards are you setting? What communication are you having with, what real communication and real purposeful communication are you having with your employees? Okay? What real goals are you having that are not just monthly and daily? Because those are important. We review those with our employees, right? But in the end, where does that employee see themselves in 3 years? Mm-hmm. Where do they see themselves in 5? Because it's coming, and it's going to come super, super fast. I think that's what people don't realize, right? I've got a year. The year's over, mm-hmm. Right? How much are you going to affect 2026 right now? The year's pretty much set in stone. Looking out 2, 3, 4 years and enjoying each moment that does come up, right? And who are you spending, and who are you sharing that with, right?
Yeah.
Like those wins. Are you sharing them with your wife? Are you sharing them with the kids? Are you sharing, the moments that you're having with your family, not only at work, but are you sharing those awesome family moments and, things that you're accomplishing with them?
Yeah, you don't want to just win and be so hyper-focused on the next win that you don't take time to enjoy the win.
Yeah. It's so important.
Yeah.
I mean, the little things in life I found now are the biggest blessings.
Yeah.
The greatest accomplishments are those little things, and being able to sit there and say, yeah, that was great. Like whether it's seeing my daughter in a play or watching her, beat on the drums and having fun.
Yeah.
Watching that smile, encouraging that smile, telling her, man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Or an employee that, had a great accomplishment. And you may have had that accomplishment 10 times over, Steve. But that was their first time they had it.
Yeah.
right?
And to enjoy it with them.
Enjoy it with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Well, you know the premise of the podcast, right?
I've heard a little bit about it.
You know, I had a hell and back moment, and was completely transformed through it. And I think that most successful people do have those hell and back moments. So I'm interested to hear what your hell and back moment is and how it might have impacted you.
I've had many hell and back moments, but to be honest with you, the biggest hell and back moment for me that didn't impact, it wasn't just impactful for the business that I've, helped create, but it impacted my family, it impacted my future, and it impacted, my sustainability in feeling comfortable in my own skin. Steve, I was 47 and a half years old, and I didn't really know who I was. Running on fumes, filling up the tank every night, just kept running and running and running until it just burned out all the time. And I was spiraling. It was a weird place for me to be in. And I felt it coming for years. And it didn't matter how much success there was, right? From somebody on the outside looking in, and would think, man, this guy's got his shit together.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything together. My mind wasn't right. My spirit wasn't right. My body wasn't right. And I had to take a really, really, really inward look at who I really was. And who I was for 47 and a half years versus who I really thought I was or who I really wanted to be. And I had to break everything down. I could have lost my family. I could have lost the love of my life. I could have lost my business partner, the people that were around me that supported me. Came to a point where I didn't know if I cared anymore. I didn't know what my purpose was. I had to reset. I had to go to the version 2.0. And that entailed a lot of looking inwards. That entailed a lot of saying, wait a minute, I see that I'm in a downward spiral. Everybody on the outside is seeing this success story. Everybody on the outside is saying, man, he's got his, everything together. I had nothing together. I didn't know who I was personally. I didn't know who I was spiritually. I didn't know who I was mentally. So I set out in the beginning of 2023 and looked at things holistically and said by the time I was 50, I wanted to have all three things in a line. I wanted to have my mind, my spirit, my body in alignment. And I wanted to be the best me. For the first time, I wanted to be the best me for me. Because if you're not the best person for yourself, you're no good for everybody else.
Right.
And I started doing research, and I started understanding, who I was as a person, and I understood, the ADHD aspect of how the mind works, and how some negative influences that I was, that the lack of sleep, drinking, right? Drinking was a big thing that just did not go well with ADHD. How I would spiral, how I would, internalize, whether it was things at work, things I thought were real, or things that I created in my mind that wasn't real reality and, wasn't the real it was my perspective, but it wasn't real. So, for me, I committed to my wife, I committed to my family, I committed myself to the business again, and I committed myself to me. And in doing so, I took out a lot of things that were deterrents in that. I stopped drinking. It was January of I'm 3 years now. So it was in January I just sat there and had a moment where I'm like, man, it's been since you're 18 years old. College. Do you remember a time where you're just not sitting there on the weekend or during the week and, not having a drink with the buddies or not coming home and having a drink? And I'm thinking, man, this was not good for my mind. If I'm self-medicated or, if I have an issue that I'm not resolving and I'm allowing this to resolve it, it's not getting resolved.
Right.
It's just putting a Band-Aid on it and putting a Band-Aid on it.
Sure.
And, that problem is still going to be there. And now it's going to be a bigger problem. My sleep was off. My routine with how I was looking at my reality versus what reality was, I needed a reset. Getting in an argument every day with your wife, putting blame on someone who supported me for X amount of years and constantly blaming them instead of looking inwards and saying, man, this is something that may be my problem. She may be right. Damn, like, oh shit,
There's
I got to grow up.
Admit that.
So, to grow up at age 47 finally and look back at what I really missed in my life,
Yeah.
right, was an eye-opener. Seeking counsel.
Yeah.
But seeking counsel, I've seen a counselor for years, but to actually be honest with the counselor, to actually sit there and not hold back and feel like, hey, I can actually be real with you, and I can actually
Right.
talk to you in a way that,
There's
you
a
can
level
help.
of vulnerability,
It's vulnerability.
there that is,
Yeah.
scary for people to even think about, really.
It
I'd
is.
imagine.
But I realized if I didn't take those actions, something was going to break. I was going to break. My family was going to break. The business was going to break. Something was going to break. My confidence in myself, I didn't have any. I was really not active as much as I should have been in the business. I really wasn't active as much as I should have been at home. I really wasn't active. I was present, but I wasn't presently active with the family, right? I was stuck in my mind. I was stuck internalizing things. And then as you read the books on ADHD and you realize about internalization, it's like, whoa. I created that noise. That is not what really played out. That's what I created inside. That's what I interpreted. And for me to really figure that out, that was eye-opening.
Wow.
And, it allowed me to be, through the whole process, and you still work on it every day. No one's perfect. I still catch myself. But I catch myself in ways I didn't catch myself before. I can catch myself in the moment. Now when I know that there's a crack, that something's happening, and I pause instead of react. I breathe instead of react. I think instead of just going and reacting like I used to do.
Yeah.
And that was a big, part of growing up, of really, really saying, hey, man, I gotta get my act together. Everything that I've worked so hard for, am I really, really just going to let it all go? Am I just going to disconnect and say, hey, that's your problem, not mine? So that was an aha moment. That's something that, I don't mind sharing with others because I think, if my story, helps just one single person about how I've been able to open up and be able to become a better person, and someone else changes because of that, or they at least can speak up, or they can say, hey, I heard your story. I have something similar.
Right.
I may need some help too.
Right.
And it's not a weakness, where others think maybe that's weak, showing weakness. I think it's now become a great strength.
I think that when we started this podcast and I talked with my wife about that, and, we released the first episode, and I was pretty vulnerable on it and talked about a lot of things. And, I'd gotten reached out by a few different people, and some people encouraged us to even and pick up and go to church, or pick up and talk to their wife, or have conversations with their kids in some ways. And even if just one of those came across, I went to Ember and I said, this is why, I'm being called. This is why I'm trying to fulfill this opportunity. This is the why right here. I can try and articulate it behind the microphone and the camera, but having the vulnerability and the maturity to be able to display and encourage other people that we all go through things like this. We all go through trials, adversity, and to stay persistent with failing forward. Stay persistent with keep winning and trying to win. You might not always it might not always happen. It won't always happen the way that you want it to, but to have the persistence in the day to day, right? And to continue to grow into that and to grow into yourself and to continue to grow into a better version of yourself. That's one of the biggest whys on why we're having this podcast and having here. So, I mean, I really thank you for sharing all that too, because I'm sure it's going to be impactful, not just between you and I and the conversations that we have, but for some of the other people that are going to put eyes on this.
It's allowed me to open my kids too more. It's allowed me to show my kids vulnerability and show my kids that, there's a place for vulnerability, and there's a place where they may be confused and they may be going through something similar, and they now know they have an open door to talk to me, and without any judgment, and to have a parent that is someone you can have confidence in, and it's not like they have to show their best side all the time. A lot of kids believe, right? They don't want to let you down. To know that, hey, it's okay, and we'll get through this together. So that's been a really great thing that I've been able to provide to the kids. My kids, and to employees who like yourself, who I'm mentoring. A lot of times in our mentoring, it's not business. We get personal.
Yeah. We should probably spend 15 minutes of an hour session on business. We're
right?
talking personal stuff.
You talk about the personal stuff, and I think that's a great setting and a great foundation of understanding who you are as a person, to understand what your purpose is in business, right? As they correlate. And I've loved the fact during the this mentorship program that the two worlds collide. And, how do you have a great family life and have a great business life at the same time?
Yeah.
How do you share that, right? Where you're not walking in, like you said, you're not walking in and, it's all business, where you're with the family when you need to be with the family. And they can see that too. And now they take that into they take that as they grow up and say, wait, Dad was successful here. But man, look at how much he was with us here. He was present in this, and he handled that. And as and as I manage and have hundreds of employees, I find that to be one of the biggest obstacles for people, right? How do you combine the two? How can you be real in one situation and kind of be real over here?
Yeah. Out of your, Jeremy 2.0 version, revamped, kind of going through this at 47, was there a habit that you might have picked up, or was there something that you say, hey, this is a non-negotiable for me as I move forward with things?
Listening more. It was instead of talking, feeling like I needed to speak all the time, allowed others to talk, and allowed me to more or less process what they were saying, how they were saying it, what they meant by it. That's one thing. I could tell you that, it's really, really easy, but sleep is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Right? Getting a good night's sleep, getting the body to reset, eating healthy. It's very simple, Steve. Like there's not like this, hey, I'm going to find a secret magic book out there that's going to, give you the right things to do. Sleeping, eating, taking care of yourself from a physical standpoint keeps you sharp. And my kids are 24, 23, 21, 13. I want to kick their ass every single time I see them, but you want to be mentally sharp for them. You want to be physically sharp for them. And thinking about those things now is really important because it's a lifestyle and it's a mindset you have.
Yeah.
And the kids start picking up on that. And when my kids are now working out, they're eating healthy. When my kids are sitting there, it's like, huh.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're picking up on that.
There's a compound effect.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how much your parents affected you or put some of those mindsets in play, but
Yeah,
they
for
weren't
sure.
but
For
they
sure.
weren't spoken of a lot.
My room was in the basement, and I walked
Same
out
here.
of the basement to a weight room, and I would jam my toe in the middle of the night, try to take a leak going upstairs because there's dumbbells and weights all over the place at my dad's house, and I work out every single morning, as a result. So yes, it passes down and translates,
Yes.
especially for me. What's one part of the success that you've had? What's one part of the success that you've had that you did not see coming? This is a good one.
It's a really good one. 'Cause I see a lot of things coming. I play out every situation in my mind probably 100 times over and over the way it works. I did not see, I think, the true friendships that can actually be built in an organization of highly effective executives, where people actually come in with respect. They come in wanting to get to know you and not just there for the job. Sharing moments of their lives that are outside of work, hardships, struggles, successes. I don't know if I saw all that coming.
I love that answer.
I just don't know if it was out there. You don't see that.
I was thinking about how I might answer this question, and I said my family success. I didn't see the home success. It wasn't something that I had, when I was 18, 19, 20 years old on my vision board to necessarily have an amazing at-home dynamic with 3 daughters, right? Never thought I would have 3 daughters. And I say all that, and I've always been very intentional, but I didn't have it on okay, this is something I've got to make sure that, I'm providing for my family, right? That was on the vision board, right? Like I knew all of these other things that I had as vision, and it's almost like these things have created this byproduct of an amazing home life. And I didn't know that all these things that I had around it were creating that to come home and be, not only my safe place, but the whole family's safe place as well. And I love that you said the friendships and the relationships that you've had built through this, dude. It's amazing.
Some of my closest friends are because of, what we're building.
Yeah.
And it's been one of the greatest blessings.
Yeah.
I go to work with people that I love. I wake up in the morning knowing I'm excited to get into a meeting, knowing I'm excited to hear what that person has to say or what we're going to share that day. I don't know if I expected that, and don't know if I would have been this blessed. When you set out to rule the world, right, as you're younger, I'm going to conquer this. I'm going to be the next X company. That's not what it's about. It's about the journey. It's about the people that are in your life that, have blessed you, for allowing you to be on their journey and you allowing them to be on yours, has been just absolutely amazing. I've gotten to know people that from all over the country that I would have never known. And I don't mean know. I mean really know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Know somebody's wife, know somebody's, their husband, know the families, know what's their purpose and what they want, and get into deeper conversations and really enjoy when we go out to the PCA events.
Yeah, it's powerful.
We're not talking, oh, hey, great numbers. Hey, you were the top producer. Hey, how's your wife? Is she here this here this weekend? I can't wait to see her again.
Yeah.
How's Amber doing? How's your daughter doing? Those are the cool things that you get to share collectively in this. So, I didn't think I was ever not going to be successful. It's like right? You have
that belief.
You have this unbelief.
Yeah.
But, man, what comes with it, if you do it the right way,
yeah,
man, I don't know.
It's powerful.
You can't take that away from me.
As we wrap up here, what's one thing you want to leave Haus Talk viewers with?
I think that if I was to say one thing, if you're a leader or if you're, I don't know, it doesn't matter who you are out there, but if you can reach out and affect somebody in the most positive way and give somebody else confidence that they didn't have any belief or in themselves, or they didn't know that they can do it. And if you can affect them in a positive way, either today, tomorrow, or throughout their career, knowing that you have their back, knowing that somebody else has confidence in them, man, I've seen that to be one of the most powerful things that I've been a part of. I've seen people that have barely graduated from high school. I've seen people that have been through really bad relationships, whether it be divorces or whether it just be a bad relationship, thinking that it was down and out and not having anybody to give them that confidence. They didn't have any belief in themselves. And man, if you can reach out to somebody and really just give them your heart and show them that you're there for them, you don't have to do it all for them. All you have to do is give them a little piece of confidence. Boy, does that just go a long way. So, for me, that's my purpose, and I can feel it. And I've seen how that's affected people's lives, families' lives, how it's changed their trajectory. It's amazing the path that you see people going on that just need literally a little reset, just a little flick, and what that does for them. I don't think there's a better gift than that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think of that for you guys, hopefully knowing that we encourage you. And if you're already encouraged, go out there and be a light to somebody else and encourage them. So appreciate you guys for tuning in to Haus Talk. That's a wrap.